English translation. 284th contact. Sunday, 11th June 2000, 16:30 hours.
You are punctual, my friend.
Yes, because my time is limited.
Then it is very good if I present Barbara's and Christian's drawings to you so that you can examine them. I think they did a very good job.
On the one hand, this is to be accepted in terms of their abilities, and, on the other hand, because we impulsively assisted both of them in their work, which, by the way, was also the case with Christian earlier when he portrayed Asket. But his skills are above the norm from the ground up. And especially with the new drawings, we wanted to make sure that the pictures were more in tune with reality and that they did not create the same kind of distortion as Victor did with my daughter Simya Se.
I understand. Then here, these are Christian and Barbara's works.
Ah, Christian's drawing is fantastically good, and the picture shows my daughter just like a photograph reproduced in drawing. When I compare the Eichenberger drawing with it, I have to say that it is only a small reflection of Christian Krukowski's work. But also Barbara's works are quite passable, even if they deviate a little from reality. But her drawing performance is very good when I consider that she only had my incomplete line drawing available for her work, which she had to work out. And although we have impulsively aided and abetted it, the whole of all three works is a tremendous achievement.
Simya Se. Drafting of Eugen Eichenberger's portrait according to Billy by Christian Krukowski.
I have also seen it likewise, both in Barbara's and in Christian's work and efforts. So can we use the pictures and make them accessible to those who are interested?
Of course, nothing stands in the way of that, but in Barbara's work, a small reservation should be made about the imprecise reality of the portraits, which should not diminish her work and efforts.
With regard to these drawings by group members, I was also asked whether you would perhaps also make a line drawing of Florina.
That is not at my discretion, so I have to consult with her first. In and of itself, we are all not particularly keen to make our likenesses public among Earth humans, with which we want to prevent glorification and the like. In the sense of my daughter Simya Se and her friend Asket, as well as of Ketzel and me. However, it is assumed that we do not have to have any reservations in this respect, as I also assume from my father Svath, who would certainly also have decided in our sense. But I do not know what Florina thinks about it, so I have to consult her first. However, if it is okay with her, I will gladly make a line drawing of her likeness during my next visit to you. But that should be enough then, because it is probably not appropriate to portray everyone who has ever been in contact with you and is still in contact. That would really go too far. Concerning Florina, I would like to try again if she can give her agreement for it. Of course, I can also assure you that we will help you to work out the picture.
Thank you. Do you still have time to answer a question?
Of course.
As you know, Switzerland figures as a democracy, as it does in other countries. If any elections take place in democratic countries, then the principle of the majority applies, which is probably not otherwise possible, because under a large independent mass of people, probably no unanimity can be achieved, because the most different views and opinions prevail. In addition, it is also evident that a party system exists, especially in the democratic states, through which a certain ideology comes into effect that is in the party's interest, according to which a cause put to the vote is then voted for or against. I find this unfair, because through the power of the parties their members are influenced by the party opinion, and are then of the opinion that the party opinion or party ideology is their own, which is not the case, however, because such an opinion is conceived and enforced by the authoritative forces of the parties. Thus, the party members cannot decide freely in any wise, and therefore cannot form their own opinion. Because they are restricted in their own freedom of decision by the party opinion or party direction and party ideology, and manipulated to the party opinion. What do you think?
Your view corresponds to correctness. To live in a democracy and deciding things electorally in it means that the person voting must be free from any partisan influence and must decide at his or her own discretion on a matter to be voted for, without being urged by any side to have a particular opinion and to make a partisan or otherwise pre-programmed choice.
Ptaah, reworking of Ptaah's self-portrait by Barbara Harnish. Ptaah, reworking of Ptaah's self-portrait by Christian Krukowski. Quetzal, Ptaah's pencil drawing reworked by Barbara Harnish. Quetzal, reworking of Ptaah's pencil drawing by Christian Krukowski. Svath, reworking of Ptaah's pencil drawing by Barbara Harnish. Svath, reworking of Ptaah's pencil drawing by Christian Krukowski.
Exactly the opposite, however, is the case with every party, because a partisan opinion is given, which is accepted and represented by the party members, and, accordingly, also expressed in an election. The freedom of one's own opinion and decision is thus not only curtailed, but also stifled and destroyed. If a free opinion and decision are to apply to every human being, then in a democracy there must never be a party system, but the matter to be elected must be made public nationwide on a certain day, according to which on the same day, every citizen who is entitled to vote and is eager to vote has to cast his or her vote on the subject of the election, in accordance with their own free opinion and decision, without any agreements being made on a larger scale with like-minded people in order to give the election result a certain direction. If this is not done, however, and consequently agreements or party influences and party opinions take place, then in no wise can one speak of personal decision and freedom, but only of some form of party dictatorship, etc., according to which there can be no talk of a democracy either, but only of a dictatorial party state and party system.
And what do you think when something has to be decided?
When something is due to be elected, the responsible spiritual leadership declares an election call that, depending on its necessity or need, is spread regionally, nationally, or globally. A call for elections is thus made public, announcing a certain day on which a ballot is to take place, which is to be carried out via the Spiritual Leadership Communication Network. As a rule, this takes place in a fixed morning hour, at which time the necessary information about the election object is transmitted to each citizen entitled to vote, both female and male, who then have to cast their vote on the same day within a fixed period. This will prevent any agreement being reached on the subject of the vote, so that each person entitled to vote must decide, form his or her opinion, and cast their vote at their own discretion, according to their own understanding and in accordance with their own responsibility.
And what is the situation when, for example, advice is given by the High Council? Does it then generally simply pass as legislation and be followed?
No, that is not the case. Every advice of the High Council is brought to the election of all citizens entitled to vote by the competent spiritual leadership, according to the same system as I have just explained.
And what does one understand or have to understand by eligible voters, citizens, or persons?
Voting eligibility exists when an age of 14 years is reached.
Abstentions, do they exist?
Of course.
And what about that? With us on the Earth, for example, a citizen can be deprived of his civil rights, for example, as a result of certain breaches of law, or in the case of consciousness-based unsoundness of mind, which is erroneously referred to on the Earth as mental insanity. Is this also the case with you?
No, such things existed at the earliest time, when for the fallible ones there was still the need to carry out fulfillment of measures at certain places for the fulfillment of guidelines, whereby the measure-fulfilling ones were segregated from the society. For about 52,000 years, however, there has been no more crime on our worlds, nor any unrest, and consequently there have been no places of measure fulfillment or places of measure fulfillment since then.
So beautiful should we have it on our Earth. But that will take a while, I guess.
That will be so, yes.
Let us go back to the drawings. Christian is also working on the portraits. I will then add his works, like those of Barbara, to this contact report. Whether Atlant can also devote himself to the drawings is questionable. He is currently on holiday on the north coast of France, alone on the beach. Towards the weekend he comes home again, but only to have to go back to military service on Monday, the 19th of June, in order, if I am correctly orientated with regard to the duration, to make the NCO school as a corporal for 6 weeks, after which he has to instruct a recruit school for another 12 weeks. So he will probably not have time to dedicate himself to the portraits.
That is to be assumed, yes. However, he will not be at home at the end of the coming week, but already in the middle of the week. And I know that Christian is working on the drawings. Of course, we will also provide impulsive assistance in this respect.
Aha, did you have a look around Atlant?
I have. But now, dear friend, I have to say goodbye again, because my duty calls. Goodbye, and Salome.
Salome, take care. And very dear greetings to all.
Which I should also pay to you. I almost forgot now.